Hello everyone, welcome to another social studies lesson. See, Anna and Elsa are ready. They want to hear our story today. Today, we will look at the book Arbor Square, and it's written by Catherine Galbraith and illustrated by Sid Moore. It's a book about tree planting in a little prairie town. Let's begin. Here we have a lovely picture on the cover of our book, Arbor Square. We see the little girl and she's hugging her father. We also see a young little tree in the background. Let's read to find out what happens in our story. Katie takes a deep breath. Everything smells new, she tells Papa, and everything does. Their prairie town is growing week by week. Now they have stores with glass windows, a church with a steeple, and a schoolhouse with desks for all 17 students to sit, all in long rows. You see the glass windows? And this is the schoolhouse. Every week, the train brings more people who are eager for land. The train also brings more lumber and logs for houses, stables, fences, and barns. So this is the train, which we learned about in our last lesson, riding along the prairie on the railroad track. These are the logs that the train brings to build the fences and houses. Papa helps space out the town square. It will be a beautiful gathering place for concerts, for socials and speeches. It will be like the squares back home. Only one thing is missing. Katie and the children know it. The townsfolk and farmers know it too. There are no trees on the prairie. No trees for climbing or for shade. No trees for fruit or for warm winter fires. No trees for birds or for beauty. And as we see, there is this grass along the prairie, and really they don't have trees. At the town meeting, everyone agrees that a proper town, their town, needs trees. Mrs. Johansson passes a basket. Precious nickels, dimes, and quarters tumble in. Jingle, jingle, clink. Katty adds her own 6 pennies and Papa's silver dollar. When the basket is heavy, Mr. Klein taps out an order over the telegraph lines. The order says, send 15 trees. So long ago, they didn't have the telephone, but they had the telegraph. And here she is collecting money to buy the trees. Days tick by. Sunny days, rainy days, windy days. At last, the telegraph lines come back. Trees are coming. Toot! When the train pulls in, folk hurry to the depot. Babies and dogs come too. Katie skips beside Papa, swinging her bucket and dolly. So there they are. They're here! Papa, Mr. Zimmerman, and all the O'Briens carefully unload the boxcar, counting as they go. They were counting the trees, and they got all 50. Katie stares at the saplings, all spindly and green. They're too little. Don't worry, they'll grow, promises Papa, but Katie isn't sure. Katie and Papa follow the parade of trees to the new town square. Papa and Mr. Carter dig tree holes. Dig, swing, scoop. Dig, swing, scoop. Papa plants 3 small maples. Let me help, Katie says. She gently pats down the soil around each baby tree. There she is helping, and they're digging with the tools we learned about, the pick, the shovel, and they're planting new trees. Under the warm sun, more trees spring up. Someday, these oaks will shade the bench, Papa says, and there, this elm tree will shelter the bandstand. But Katie isn't sure. Neighbors plant more maple trees near the church, 1 apple tree on the corner, and 3 chestnut trees in the dusty schoolyard. Danny O'Brien leads the bucket brigade. Katie loves her bucket too. Cool drinks for thirsty trees and dogs. So here's the pipe that they had long ago. It's like a water pump. They had their buckets of water and they were watering and caring for the plants. In a quiet corner of the square, Papa and Katie dig a hole together. Here they plant a flowering dogwood in memory of Mama. Katie touches the tender leaves. It is very little, but now this is our special tree, she whispers. Papa hugs her. Yes, our very special tree. As the sun begins to set, the square bristles and blooms with green. Papa and Katie spread their blanket next to Mama's tree. Katie peeks into the basket. There's plenty of food to share with the friends and dogs. And done. So, this is the dogwood tree that they planted in memory of their mother, of Katie's mother. Here she's peeking in the basket looking for the food. They spend the day having a picnic, and when evening comes and the moon comes up, the old dog fiddles up. Neighbors gather their children and dogs and they wave goodbye. They are ready to go home. Let's do this again next year, they say. And they do. Year after year, they gather in the square for another Arbor Day, a tree planting day, a holiday. Carrying shovels, rakes, and hoes, they decide to plant new trees. Katie and Papa help plant the trees throughout the town. Trees for climbing and for shade. Trees for fruit and warm winter fires. Trees for birds and for beauty. And every year, Papa laughs and tells Katie, "Don't worry, honey, they'll grow." And these have grown up very much. The little stem has now grown into fat trunks. It's another Arbor Day again. Many years have passed and Katie is quite grown up. She now has a little girl of her own. So neighbors, kids and dogs hurry to the square. Here come Katie and Danny O'Brien with their little daughter Megan Annie. Katie's papa, now a grandpa, holds one of Megan's hands. In the square lies a small row of saplings, spindly and green. Katie smiles. One day, that willow will sweep the pond, she says, and there, the cedar will sweep the sky. Megan shakes her head and Katie laughs. "Don't worry, honey, they'll grow. Now, let's find your grandma's tree." So this is Katie all grown up with her little girl, and Papa is now the grandfather. Megan runs across the square. Her family follows just behind. There, Katie spreads out their blanket under the blooming dogwood tree. Robins rustle in the leaves. Sparrows chirp and flutter. Megan peeks into the basket. There's plenty of food to share with friends and dogs and bears. When the moon rises, silver and raw, neighbors gather up children and grandchildren and whistle for the dogs. "See you here again next year," they call. And they do. So this was the dogwood they planted in memory of Katie's mom. So they gather the very next year again, celebrating families and trees and neighbors. Year after year, and even the year after that, they continue to celebrate Arbor Day. The end. A long time ago, Arbor Day was founded by J. Sterling Morton. It was first celebrated in the state of Nebraska on April 10, 1872. Today, Arbor Day is celebrated in many countries. The most common time to celebrate it is in spring, the last week in April. And that is a great time to plant trees.
America's tree planting festival, Arbor Day, is celebrated on the last Friday in April. The father of Arbor Day was a man named J. Sterling Morton. Mr. Morton was one of the first pioneers to move to Nebraska. When he arrived in 1854, he was shocked to find that Nebraska was almost treeless. Knowing that trees would be needed for agriculture, fuel, and building materials, he suggested to the state government that there be a day focused on planting them. They agreed, and on April 10, 1872, America's first Arbor Day was celebrated by Nebraskans planting over 1 million trees.
Let us see how much you remember from the story. What was missing from the new town square? Yes, you can see that there are no trees on the town square, so the trees were missing. That's right. Number 2. How did Katie help to plant the trees? Yes, that's right. She packed the soil gently around the little trees. After planting, how did they care for the trees? That's right. They poured water so that the plants would have water, that they can grow nicely. Can you name some of the trees that were planted? Do you remember they planted maple trees, the chestnut trees? They planted the dogwood tree, and here we can see they have the cedar tree, the willow tree. Yes, they have a lot of trees now in the square, and it's looking very beautiful. Now, they went back every year to celebrate Arbor Day. Do you know when Arbor Day is celebrated? That's right. It's celebrated the last week in April. Most of the cities, they celebrate the last week in April. What do we do every year on Arbor Day? That's right, we plant trees. Boys and girls, you did a good job answering the questions. Remember, trees are very useful and we must plant and take care of new trees. In your packet, you will find this worksheet on tree planting. It has a sentence for you to complete. We can plant and care for new, that's right, trees. Finish the sentence, color the picture nicely, write your name. Do your best work. Remember all we learned about taking care of trees and about Arbor Day when we celebrate tree planting. Continue to care for trees, for they are very useful and special. Thank you, boys and girls. Bye.